Week 17 right here at sportsbookreview.com, NFL action, and it's crazy. We used to talk about this in the past, Kyle, late in the season. The odds board is lighting up like a Christmas tree. Lines have moved as much as 7 points in one direction or another. This is fantastic stuff. Welcome into Sunday NFL, our last full kickoff Sunday, Kyle, and we got a lot of information to get to today.
We do. It's got to be rapid fire, and you're right. I'm happy about some of the line movements and kicking myself over the other ones, looking at the Vikings, that Washington, the Miami Buffalo. A lot of stuff to go over, a lot of ins and outs. It's going to be a crazy week. Thank you, everyone in the chat box waiting for us and hanging out with us. Hit that like button. It's been an awesome season. We're going to have stuff for the playoffs, so we won't be going far, and really appreciate you all. It's going to be an exciting day.
No, it's going to be a great day, and Kyle brings up a great point. 78,200 people have hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys for so much support that you've given us here on the NFL show all the way through, doing great things at sportsbookreview.com. We are growing by leaps and bounds, and that's a credit to you guys for coming into the chat box. I would go up and down and say hello, but there's so many people in the chat box. Just keep letting it rip all the way through. We're going to have some fun today because in the past, lines maybe move like a point and a half for the week. Same thing on the totals, unless there's some weather or some crazy COVID issues that one team has. So today we're going to spend a lot of time on the information because, as we always like to say, it's designed, the show, to make you a better gambler and keep you informed, because Kyle and I aren't going to come on the show and be like, yeah, we got Washington plus 1.5, so good luck on that. You say, wait a second, Washington is -7 now. You can't do that. We can only look at the lines that are on the board today, but let's go over some information and have some fun. If you missed anything on sportsbookreview.com, anything NFL-wise, you want to get the best picks out there, you want to get the write-ups, you want to get the videos, there's a link below, sbrpicks.com/NFL you can check into. But I got to say here, Kyle, let's dip right into it because we got a full card, no buys, no Thursday, no Monday, which means extra time. And we got kickoff today, so we can't tell the NFL, Kyle, hey, guys, push us back to 1:20 today. We got extra time. We got to really get this in, so let's hit it hard. Let's go right to 1 o'clock, and I don't even know if this game means anything at this point because of what the Philadelphia Eagles are doing tonight on NBC for primetime action. Dalton and the New York Giants are going to take – Dalton and Daniel Jones of the New York Giants are going to take place in the Meadowlands today. Opened up around 1.5. We saw it get to 3. Now it's coming back down to 1.5. And the reason why, usually we'd spend a lot of time on this game. I think Dallas is the better offense overall. I think the Giants, hopefully it rains all the way through, but it's not that bad weather conditions in New Jersey. The only issue I have is, are both of these teams looking at their phones like we are with Twitter today going, we need the Eagles to win. Nobody is playing for the Eagles. What is the deal here, Kyle?
Yeah, it's really bizarre, and you got to feel a little bit down if you're a fan of both of those teams. But the good news is they're going to trot out Alex Smith on one leg, and look, let's just call it what it is. All 4 of those teams stink. It's not going to surprise me if any of the teams beat each. I won't be shocked if the practice squad for the Eagles beat Washington. I really won't be. I won't be surprised if Dallas wins. I won't be surprised if the Giants win. I took the Cowboys in this one. I'm with you. I think they have more weapons on offense. Of course, that defense is always a concern. And Daniel Jones, if you look back about a year and a half, has had some success against Dallas. But for me, and this is a big game for Andy Dalton, by the way, wins an extra $1 million if they make the playoffs. So he's really rooting. He might have a lawsuit, if you will, against those Eagles if they win, and then the Eagles lose tonight. But I just think Dallas has too many weapons. I like how that offense looks. And I'm taking the Cowboys. I can't believe it. I'm taking Andy Dalton and Mike McCarthy on the road in a must-win game. It makes me sick to my stomach to say those words, but I just think they're the more talented team, and their offense is trending upwards. So I'm going to take the Cowboys here.
No, and I agree with you on that. By the way, is it your birthday today?
It is my birthday. Thanks, Mom, for dropping that. So I appreciate all the love out in the chat. I appreciate that. And you're right, Mark Rock. It is my 21st birthday. So thank you very much for that as well.
I like that too. I'm the same way as you. I hide it until somebody brings it up, and then it's like, all right, cat's out of the bag. We're 90 years old over here. But happy birthday to Kyle here. Celebration on a Sunday. Maybe he'll win a little DFS $1 million. You never know. But again, back in the Dallas and the Giants game, over under is 43, 44, depending on where you're shopping at. I'm with the same side here as Kyle. It's a square play to take the Dallas Cowboys. I understand, but I got to stop going into football games, or if technically, I haven't been doing this, but the thought process is saying bad weather. I think the Giants are playing hard. They don't care on offense. Like, if you don't care about offense, I think Joe Judge would be fine. Like, hey, see that? We ran the ball 62 times today. We only put up 3, but that's a foundation for the future. I'm done with that. Dallas is a much better football team than the Giants. I'll lay the 2 points in this game. Let's keep moving on here because we got some interesting ones to talk about. Lions on the move. Pittsburgh and Cleveland start off the week, Kyle, saying, hey, man, look at this line. Pittsburgh getting 7 early in the week. Now you see a lot of starters down for the Pittsburgh Steelers in this game, and it goes from 7.5 to 10s and even 10.5s across the board. Why is that? No TJ Watt, no Cam Hayward, no Joe Hayden, no Edmonds at safety, a plethora of other guys missing. Boswell's still not going to come back as a kicker for this game. A lot of people down in this one, including Ben Roethlisberger, not playing on offense. What are we actually getting out of the Steelers is the issue, but what are we actually getting out of Cleveland, who you saw last week lose to the Jets, but now the band's back in town? Yeah, sure, Denzel Ward's not going to play today. Malcolm Smith also out with COVID-19 issues. Didn't get a lot of practice time in this week for the Cleveland Browns due to their facility being shut down, but this is one of the games where you look at Cleveland wins and they're in. Pittsburgh doesn't care about this game. Now, again, we're gamblers, Kyle. We're not picking this game on a pick. I'm saying, hey, Cleveland has to win, because if you're looking at that 6, 6.5, or 7, that's more palatable than maybe 10.5. But the game breaks down very simple for me. Cleveland's going to be able to move the football. It's apparent over the last 5 to 6 weeks outside of the COVID game, Cleveland's good for high 20s each and every game. Normally against the Steelers, would that be the case? No. But if we know the Steelers are down 5 to 6 starters, their best players on defense, I don't know how much resistance they're actually going to give. And if you're looking to back the Pittsburgh Steelers, my only issue here is not that Ben Roethlisberger is down, because Mason Rudolph's got a live arm. He's a little bit, obviously, much more mobile than Ben Roethlisberger is. It's the fact that how long is my offensive line staying in? I know Pouncey's out at center. He hasn't had the greatest season anyway, but it's the 2 tackles that you're going to look at, because once they exit the game, Myles Garrett and Olivier Vernon are going to feast on the carcass of Mason Rudolph. That's the issue we have today.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now, look, I can't be a fraud. I've been calling the Browns frauds all year long, and I think 10 points, 10.5 is too many points. Look, I know Pittsburgh is benching everyone, and they don't really care about this game. But one thing I do know, they hate the Cleveland Browns. They absolutely hate the Cleveland Browns. So I have a hard time thinking a Mike Tomlin team's going to come in and lay down for Cleveland just to make the playoffs. So I do think you get a decent game plan. They're going to try to win this game. Should Cleveland win? Absolutely. Do I have Cleveland in a money line parlay just to add a few cents? Absolutely. But I think Pittsburgh covers here. I think this game is closer than 10.5. And the bet I really like that I took, I got it actually a day ago. Now it's moved up to 44.5. I think we get the over in this game. Cleveland, already a vulnerable secondary and defense, now down Kevin Johnson and Denzel Ward. Myles Garrett, of course, is going to wreak havoc back there. But I think you're right. I think Cleveland gets into the 20s, and I think Pittsburgh does as well. I think this is, a 28-24 type of game that Cleveland pulls out. But I think Pittsburgh makes them sweat for it. So I am taking Pittsburgh to cover here. Maybe I'm crazy, but I can't be a fraud now and start taking the Browns. I can't do it.
Yep, you are crazy. And look at this stat here coming in from ESPN. NFL teams who are win and in versus teams that have already clinched in Week 17 since 2000. The win and in teams are 15-0 straight up and 9-3 against the number. So that's going to be interesting. The 3 teams that fit the component today, Kyle, the Dolphins, the Bears, and the Browns. Now, the Bears are playing for somebody who actually clinched, but still playing for somebody. So that might be interesting. We're going to go over that as it goes, but some interesting stuff coming down the line. But again, you're looking at Cleveland. That's all in for this game. Pittsburgh left their 5 basic Pro Bowlers back in Pittsburgh. It says, don't even worry about this game. So we'll see how much is on the line. But the one part you have is, these guys are still NFL players. They're getting NFL paychecks. They hate Cleveland. Cleveland hates Pittsburgh. A lot of that's going to boil you into it. And also, Mason Rudolph is in the game. And last time we saw this game with Mason Rudolph, guys were getting bonked on the head with helmets. Should be a crazy day in Cleveland. Weather doesn't look like it's any concern. Had a little bit of concern previously early in the week. So we'll see how it plays out. But I do think Kyle is crazy for taking Pittsburgh. But again, it's not taking Pittsburgh money line. Taking Pittsburgh with about 10.5 here as we sit at game time. 115, 116, the Jets and New England Patriots. We don't really have to go over this game. A lot better games to do, but just taking a general look. If New England is favored, I don't want any piece of them. We already saw the word coming out. Hey, Cam, thanks a lot for coming here, but get the hell out of town. We're looking for a quarterback. I don't know how inspired Cam Newton will be today or how long he even needs to play. The Jets have been playing well over the past 2 weeks. In this game, what's a coin flip? Just give me the 3 points here. I'm not even sure New England can get 14 points, so I'm going to take the Jets.
Yep, took the words right out of my mouth. I'm not taking the Patriots as favorites. Now, yes, it's Jets pain, but the Jets pain's been good to us the past couple of weeks.
Yes,
Come on.
yes.
So I'm going for the trio. I'm taking more pain. Give me the Jets. At least, they seem to have a little bit of confidence and they're having fun. New England, it's just painful to watch them on offense, painful to watch them on defense. Go ahead and give me the New York Jets.
There you go. +3. Amazing. We're taking the Jets on the road in Foxborough, week 17. Usually New England's wrapping this up. Who are they going to play? Round 1 at home after a bye. How the times have changed here with the New England Patriots, who are complete topsy-turvy, and even who their quarterback is going to be next year. But I do get a kick out of where the tweets come out like, oh, we really enjoyed Cam's time here. No, you didn't. It was a disaster this year. You didn't do anything about that. But it's always to play nice with players and move on. Like, hey, we gave you a shot, and we'll see who else can actually do that here. Let's keep going down the list. Another game that has some interesting line movement here. And to be honest with you, I know Dalvin Cook's not playing, right? Some guys banged up on Minnesota's defense. But taking overall look, and let me just do a quick updated Minnesota Vikings on the inactive report in case I missed anything here. Dalvin Cook, Cameron Dantzler's down, so that's a big injury to the cornerback position. Eric Hendricks, who basically took the year off after getting injured pregame versus the Jacksonville Jaguars a couple weeks ago. But as we look, the line was 6.5. We didn't know if Matthew Stafford was going to play. If anybody knows anything about Matthew Stafford, unless his head was removed from his body, he will play. But not only is it like, well, he's struggling with a rib. It's a rib. It's a knee. It's an ankle. I don't know why he's out there. But I guess people like to bet the feel-good stories as if he wants to go out a winner in Detroit if he doesn't come back. Do you actually think like that's on the mind of any one of those Detroit players at this point? Like, hey, let's play this game for Matthew Stafford when we don't even know we're going to be here or if he's even going to be back at this point. Minnesota is way better on offense. You're talking about two wide receivers in Jefferson and Thielen that are going to go bananas today in this football game because they don't have to worry about Dalvin Cook rushing for 45 yards a pop against his porous defense. Don't know why this line has gone from 6.5 to 3. I don't care. Give me the square. Minnesota -3.
Yeah, I took the Vikings 6.5 earlier because I wanted to make sure it was under a touchdown. I never in my wildest dreams did I think it would go the other direction. Now, look, it's good that Stafford's going to play, but I basically call him the side. You watch those commercials and, they're like, oh, you don't want sore knuckles anymore. Take this pill and, you'll have, maybe deadly, viruses hit your brain and all these side effects. That's Matthew Stafford, rib, ankle, thumb, head. I don't know that Stafford makes it to the second quarter. He's not facing a vicious defense by any stretch of the imagination here in Minnesota. But yeah, you got to take the Vikings. That secondary for Detroit, allowing the most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers over the past month. Absolutely dreadful when they had their starters in. Now they're down to corners 3 and 4. Matt brought up the Justin Jefferson props. Love the Jefferson props. Love the Thielen props. I have DFS lineups where I stack that entire offense. I think the Vikings put up a lot of points. Vent some of the frustrations here. They've had they were expected to be in the playoff chase and sort of fell apart here. Their defense really let them down. And of course the turnovers by Kirk Cousins early in the year. But I think they vent some frustrations and beat the brakes off Detroit today. I got the Vikings and now you're getting a gift with it at 3.5.
Yeah. So Robert Nash, no brainer over there. I agree with it too. It comes down to it on week 17. You have two if Stafford is healthy and can throw the football, they're going to score some points on Minnesota's defense. Vice versa with Minnesota and Kirk Cousins. He's not going to be under heavy pressure, and they got some weapons at wide receiver. But I always like to take a look at the stance. Like, why are we betting unders in week 17 when the key, the terminology I always use is we're at the 50-yard line. It's 4th and 4. We're not punting down inside the 5-yard line. They are going for it, which means if they get it, fantastic. And if they don't get it, Kyle, fantastic. It goes back the other way at the 50-yard line. So 53.5, 54 seems like a lot with a banged-up quarterback. I'm going to give you this prognostication again, Kyle. More likely here, 24-17 or 34-27?
Exactly. I mean, it's obviously 34-27. Now, keep in mind, if Stafford leaves, on the second play of the game and all of a sudden Chase Daniel trots out on the field, I mean, I had the over 53.5 last week, and I had to sweat it out with Detroit and Tampa Bay. I mean, absolutely sweat it out. Luckily, we got that kick return for a touchdown or punt return for a touchdown. So there are some moving parts here, but yeah, no, the over, if you're betting the totals here, it's the over. There's really only one game, maybe two that I look at. I'm like, okay, that's an under for today. And we'll get to that. That'll involve your football team here. But yeah, I like the over here. I think just take the Vikings and enjoy the win. They should get it done today. Don't burn me. Kirk Cousins, but Detroit are trash cans. There's the bash for you, Akbar. Detroit is absolute garbage from coaching staff down. This should be a beating. The Vikings let me down every time I do this. One last chance today. Let's go Vikings.
Hey, there you go. Hey, we'll see what they come to play. And again, not much to play for, but you don't have to worry about any windy weather conditions for either one of them that they're playing at home, being the Minnesota Vikings in a dome, or obviously going on the road to Detroit to play in a dome. Matthew Stafford's final farewell with no fans in the stands. I don't know. Is that what we're playing for? It's always like, hey, they're going to honor Derek Jeter tonight for the Yankees. That means the Yankees are going to put up 10 runs. Doesn't really necessarily correlate in that fashion. Let's keep going. 119-120 Atlanta and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay wants to win today. Why? Because they see a team that's going to play on Sunday Night Football and the Redskins like, sign me up. We might not be the number one seed in getting a bye, but damn it, next week is a bye for us as we wipe the floor with the Washington football team. So as we take a look at this game, opened up at 4.5, quickly went to 7. And I don't think that's a direct indication of what you're actually getting from Atlanta. Division game, both these teams know each other. Atlanta's played hard down the stretch, but now when you're playing the rubber meets the road, one team is saying, and again, Bruce Arians might be putting us in for the biggest setup, acting like this game is going to propel them to the Super Bowl. If they play well, they're going hard. They want to win this game. But also Mike Evans wants to get his 1,000 yards, about 122, 123 yards away from that at this point. Ronald Jones said to look good in pregame warm-ups. We also hear that he's going to get a ton of work. So if we're going to be working on offense here, they should be able to score. But now we're at that demarcation line of -7 as opposed to 4.5, 5.5, or 6.5. They're probably going to have to win this game by double digits in order for you to catch this ticket. And all week long, I'm still trying to find a way to take the Atlanta Falcons because I think they're going to be game and hang around. They've done it everywhere, and on the road is now enough too much here where Tampa Bay gets underway. I don't know with the 7 here, Kyle. I don't know.
The 7's a little bit high for me as well. And then you look, great job in the chat box as well, bringing it up. Down a couple of linebackers, down their best defensive back in Carlton Davis. Atlanta played them tough a couple weeks ago. It took a little bit for Brady and company to get going. Do I expect Tampa Bay to win? Absolutely. They need to win because you're right. It's essentially a first-round bye. You get to play whoever comes out of the NFC East as the 5 seed. So you desperately want to win this game. You don't want to blow that opportunity to actually have to play a good team next week. You get to play a trash can team. Mm-hmm. The 7 seems a little high. To me, it's just a stay-away game because if that was down at, 3.5, 4, I'd probably be okay with that. But now you're right. Now it's at 7, 7.5. You need this to basically be a 10-point game. Can Tampa Bay do it? Sure. Should they do it? Are they better? Sure. But I don't know if I can trust it. And Atlanta's been playing better with Raheem Morris, and they sort of do this late in the year. They did it last year as well. They stunk, and then they win their last 5 or 6 games. They look a whole lot better. It's a real dicey prospect for me here. One thing I would look at is probably the over 50.5. I've been burned by the Falcons a few times with that this year.
I'm going under on that. I'm going under. I just see the way Atlanta plays not explosive football anymore. Right. I'm looking under there. But I can't fault you for that. If Tampa Bay, as we talk about, is full go on offense and they're trying to get guys revved up and Mike Evans needs $125 or so, that means there should be points. But I'm going to buck that trend because I don't know about Atlanta's offense, and I think their path is to slow it down. Go ahead, though. Keep going.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to get to. I've been burned by this by the Falcons because you're just like, God, why can't you beat this defense? Why is this happening? But man, that Tampa Bay secondary is really bad. They've really regressed from early in the year when they were pretty solid. They've regressed to sort of what they were last year. And now you look at those injuries. So if Atlanta's got some pride, Matt Ryan wants some pride out there. If they get into the 20, if Atlanta gets into the 20s, I think Tampa gets to the high 20s or 30s. So this game should go over, but you're absolutely right to be nervous about it because Atlanta comes out with those duds, Matt Ryan, 15 completions for 114 yards. And you're like, what the hell happened? Both these teams should have to throw. These are 2 of the better run-stuffing teams in the league, actually. They should have to throw the ball. Usually it plays to the over, but you're right to be nervous about it.
Willie Jones, Donnie would like to thank your Philadelphia Eagles for letting my Washington football team win today. They are going to win today, and I'm going to go double down a little bit later when we talk about this. Washington would be smart to bench Alex Smith, to bench Antonio Gibson, and Terry McLaurin to get them healthy for next week because they don't need them to beat the Eagles tonight. But that's a little here nor there. A little bit later in the show. Keep an eye on this one coming up here. Baltimore and Cincinnati. Lines been bouncing all over the place. 11.5 as we opened up. 14s and 14.5 a little bit earlier today at some outlets. Now back to 13.5. Are we believing Cincinnati as a competent offense. They didn't show a lot against Pittsburgh, but dropped 27. They looked really good against a horrendous defense in dome conditions against the Houston Texans last week, but now going to get a step up. But also for Baltimore, thought they get all three cornerbacks back. It looks like Jimmy Smith is not going to play today, being on the inactive list. Gus Edwards is getting a bump. He's back in, but I think J.K. Dobbins going to have a monster day in the backfield. Lamar Jackson should be able to do whatever he wants. Baltimore needs to win to get in, so obviously they'll be rolling out the red carpet on offense. I don't think they let up. But you know what I like more than that number? And it's going higher. It's not up to 45. There's 44.5 still on the board. I like the over in this game. I think Cincinnati can approach 20 points, and there's no reason to believe, to me, that Baltimore won't continue to hit that high 20s, low 30s numbers.
Yeah, and just playing into that, you look for Cincinnati. They're down their top corner, William Jackson. They're down Mackenzie Alexander now. So they are just battered in the secondary. Now, it's not like Baltimore has an electric passing game, but what a better game to get right and sort of get a rhythm heading into the playoffs and improve that passing game than getting a banged-up Cincinnati team. So Baltimore should put up points. Brandon Allen has proven to be fairly competent as a backup quarterback for the Bengals. So they should be able to get some points. Must win for Baltimore. I stayed away from this game because I'm not doing 2 touchdown favorites on the road in a division game. It's just not something I do. But if you're picking a side, obviously Baltimore is the side to pick here. So you got to like the Ravens. Again, they need to win to get in as well. So Baltimore it is for me. Mark Ingram's also going to play, it looks like, for Baltimore. He wasn't supposed to play, but he's going to. And by the way, I appreciate all the birthday wishes in the chat box. If you can do something for me for the birthday, let's get to over 100 thumbs up. Yeah, we need some thumbs up here. Don't make me
475 in here, 59 thumbs up. What is going on in this world?
Help us out. Hit the thumbs up. Really appreciate that. So the powers that be don't send me to the unemployment line a few weeks early. So hit that thumbs up. I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, you got to take Baltimore here. There's not a whole lot of value. You're not getting a ton of value here. You hope they really do beat the brakes off them. If you can throw it in for a few cents in a money line, I have like an 11 pick money line parlay. It adds a few cents to it. Once you start getting more and more picks, you add some juice to it. So I added it in just because there's no way Baltimore loses. Do they get to the 2 touchdown lead? They should, but I'm with you. I like the over 45 in this game.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense because I think Baltimore will go gung-ho on offense for the entire game. And again, we're talking about a Baltimore team that is susceptible. Maybe not a couple weeks ago that we liked Allen starting a quarterback, but showing at least some initiative where they can move the football. Boyd is back after a concussion, so they're full go at wide receiver, which is nice. And again, we're not asking them to win the football game or put up 30. I think if they can get to that 17-point range, that forces Baltimore to continue to put their foot down. If you looked at last week's game, and I keep coming back to it, Baltimore only got 27 points, but that's against the Giants, who are literally playing like it's 1952 high school basketball, 4 corners offense, just to slow the game down. And yet they had a chance on the 1-yard line. They dropped the football. They would have been into the 30s with a much better defense than the Giants have, and also a ridiculous offense that's built to just slow the clock down. So some interesting food for thought there. I do think Baltimore continues their winning ways, gets into the playoffs, and runs into the playoffs hot. Let's get to one of the biggest games of the day here, 1 o'clock, 123, 124. We did the Monday Night Football show last week. The Bills are playing on a different level right now than what we've seen them since the Jim Kelly K-Gun days, back when they're running the Super Bowls and winning the AFC 4 straight years. We take a look at this football game. My thoughts on Monday night were Buffalo's going to go hard when it clinches the top seed, stay hot into the playoffs. Monday night, the press conference after the game, it was clear that Sean McDermott was like, whoa. Like, we haven't figured this out yet, which again means we already figured it out. We're not going hard in this game. Said all the right things during the week. I think they played this the opposite way I would have done, because now it's coming out with the tweets. Josh Allen needs 40 yards to become the single-season passing leader in Bills history. He's going to want to get his 50 yards. You owe it to Josh Allen to get him those 50 yards. But then I think it's all up in the air at this point for the Bills. And that's why this line opened up as a 3-point favorite for Buffalo. Now they're down -4.5 at some outlets for the Dolphins. It's clear that Buffalo is going to have all their offensive starters. And why? You're not going to put Josh Allen out there with backup wide receivers, a backup offensive line, and backup running backs to throw for 50 yards. You're going to protect the king and say, dude, we got everything. Max protect, get your 50 yards. Let's get out of here. Buffalo's not going to really play that hard to win the game. And also scoreboard watching as well. Oh, look, Cleveland's up 14-3 at the half. Everybody out of the game. Now, do you trust the Miami Dolphins and a rookie quarterback with no fail-safe valve that he's going to have with Ryan Fitzpatrick that now actually has COVID? Jakeem Grant is down. Devontae Parker is going to play, but as Akbar on the chat box likes, boop, 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 boop. Let me get this straight. Guy's got a hamstring injury. It's cold weather in Buffalo and turf. Yeah, he's probably not going to play all that well today. Hang up the phone. This is really interesting because, again, We're not asking on game day to say, hey, hopefully you got it in earlier where maybe Buffalo doesn't really have to win the game and they can get the 3.5 or 3 with a push or win it that way. You're asking them to win by over 3 points. Can they get it done here?
I think they do. Now, listen, it's the coldest game. We've heard that narrative that Tua's ever played in, but the weather doesn't look all that bad. And you just mentioned it now, Tre'Davious White, Jerry Hughes, they're starting to pull away some of that defensive heat that he would be going against. So things should get a little bit easier. Do I expect a full effort out of Devontae Parker? Obviously not with the hamstring injury. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. I don't know how many times we have to say it and see it. Hamstring, wide receiver, defensive back, no bueno. But you still got to like Miami here with their starters. And especially they already say Matt Barkley is going to see some, meaningful snaps. Anytime I hear significant snaps, when I hear Matt Barkley's in, I just go, oh, who's the other team? I don't give a damn who it is. Pencil me in. So you got to take Miami here. Too much to play for. The line movement's been insane. When I woke up this morning, I got Miami +2. Now we're talking 6.5 points here in, just a couple of hours. You get a little bit more nervous now that it's 3.5. Yikes. But I expect Miami to get it done today. Must win. And I just don't. Buffalo obviously doesn't care about the 2 seed. Stay healthy. Get ready for the playoffs. One of the hotter teams, if not the hottest team in the league coming in. Don't risk any injuries. Don't mess around. I think Miami gets it done and gets into the playoffs.
I think you're right because, again, we're talking about a team that Brian Flores is an amazing coach. And when you're talking about, even the wins over like the New England Patriots when they're up against it and they still able to pull it down, not many wide receivers, that's the sign of a really good team. And also you're talking about a team that's fighting for its life now, Miami versus a Buffalo Bills team that's basically checked out of this game. If Miami can't win a game where Buffalo's second string guys are in, and I'm talking about, it's not Matt Barkley here just filling in for Josh Allen where he's throwing the Stephon Diggs and everybody's happy on offense. You're talking about him throwing to basically practice squad wide receivers against a pretty formidable defense for the Miami Dolphins. I can't go that route. And again, we're talking conjecture here because we're not going to sit up to the last 30 minutes on Sunday and be like, hey, finally, I'm ready to go on the Dolphins at 3.5. You knew where this line was moving all week long. So look, at least if you had 2.5, 2, 1s, or even the plus money side, it's a lot more palatable than saying, hey, we're on the show. We got to the game. It's 3.5 because nobody likes it at -3.5. We liked it at what it was earlier in the week. But having said that, if we're looking at the game itself, even with the 3.5, Kyle, I can't go near the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, it's just they just don't care. And so if you can't take a team with everything to play for. Yeah. And Miami knows too, hey, we make the playoffs, get some playoff experience for our young team. Are they going to the Super Bowl? Probably not. But they already know they got a top 5 draft pick from Houston. They got their second round pick as well. So they're not losing any draft capital or hurting themselves in the draft. Miami's going to go for it today. I like Brian Flores. I like how he gets his team ready. And I just don't think Buffalo wants to risk anything injury-wise when they're playing so well and have a legitimate shot at getting to the Super Bowl. One of those teams in the AFC with a legitimate shot to knock out Kansas City. Buffalo plays it safe. They don't care. Give me Miami with a ton to play for with their lives on the line. Whatever you want to say, lives on the line. I'm losing my words here, but I like Miami.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And we'll take a look at the over-under here, about 42.5. It's hard to say that you like if this was Buffalo full go, hell yeah, we like the over 42 because of what that offense can do. But if we're not looking at a true offense for Buffalo and just looking to get into the playoffs at this point and start their journey towards the Super Bowl run, I don't see many points in this game because I think we know for sure Miami's game plan with Brian Flores is not like, what would be great? Let's go up and have Tua throw 50 times up here in Buffalo. I don't think that's going to be the case. So I do like the under in this game. Jacksonville and Indianapolis should be a blowout here. Indianapolis already said we're going to turn off all the scoreboards in the stadium. Let's just roll Jacksonville. Jacksonville already talking about moving on from Doug Marrone. This will be his last game. You're not starting Gardner Minshew, so the chance of stealing a game is very low. You're sitting your star rookie running back. And now you're seeing like DJ Chark out. There's not a lot for Jacksonville to play for, and we're all humans here. Indianapolis still a lot to play for. They have to win and then scoreboard watch. If they don't win, none of it really matters at this point. But if we're taking a look from Jacksonville, the human element here, right? You're a sales guy, 31st day of the month. You already hit your number or have no chance to hit your number. Are you going hard on the 31st day of the month? Nope. Same thing with professional athletes. They're on a road trip into Indianapolis going, let me just make it out of here. I made plans to Aruba. I'm going to St. Lucia. I got to get with my agent. I'm just ready to get out of town. My lease is up already on my condo in Jacksonville. I'm going back home. They don't care about this game. Now, as I said that, this line was 13 during the week. 15.5 now. You got to win by like 17 plus points. Do I think Indianapolis can do it? Yes. Am I betting on that? No, I'm not going to bet on anything over 15 points.
Yeah, no. Even the first half line is too high. And look, Indianapolis, I'm looking in the chat box. Indy will not be eliminated by the time the game starts. That's why the NFL sets things up this way so Tennessee and Houston are playing at the same time, et cetera. There's a lot of these games happening at the same time. It's a great job of scheduling by the NFL. So that's why the Colts have to turn the scoreboard off. They need to win, and they need either Baltimore, Miami, Cleveland, or Tennessee to lose, and they get in the playoffs. There is a little bit of a revenge narrative here because Jacksonville's won one game this year, and who was that against? A dreadful loss by the Colts to the Jags. And if you're Indianapolis looking at your playoff prospects right now, you have to be kicking yourself for losing to this team. The Colts should blow them out, but again, 15.5. Have fun betting those games. No thanks. What I would do here, if you're a Jacksonville fan or a Colts fan, and this is the only game you're watching, you're betting, live bet it. Hope Jacksonville scores first, drops that line down to under 10, then go ahead and bet the game. 15.5. No, thank you.
What's crazy about this game, too, is if Indianapolis, they can either win the division or not even go to the playoffs. That is a tough pill to swallow on the way out of town for Indianapolis. That's a really good football team. And they're catching, hey, you got to handle your business. It's on them, right, Kyle? 24-7 against Pittsburgh in the second half. You win that, you're going to be into the playoffs. You lost that game. Now you leave it up to teams in the other hand. So you can't say, boy, that stinks. Look how many wins they're going to get. They had it in their grasp with a 17-point lead against a dead-ass Pittsburgh Steelers team and allowed them to come back and win that football game. So basically, yes, they did that to themselves. But just an interesting thing where, if you win, if you look at the scoreboard, you win the division, or you might look at the scoreboard, and you don't even make the playoffs. It's tough stuff here. But again, you put yourself in that position, that's what happens. But again, thank you to the NFL for making all of these games count as best as they can and doing it there as well with Indianapolis. 105, 106. Go ahead.
Oh, they did make a good point in the chat box as I'm looking at it. That is true. Baltimore, Cleveland, and Miami all played before the Colts. So the Colts will know if they need the Titans to lose or not. It's just the Titans that play at the same time. So that is a good point. But nonetheless, you could think of worse teams to have play in Tennessee and without anything needing to matter than, Deshaun Watson, et cetera. So they'll still have some hope, even if all those teams win.
Crazy, wild stuff, but it is the way it is. But they'll play hard in that game all the way through. 105, 106, Green Bay and Chicago. One of the games of the day, we saw it as high as 5.5, dip down to 4s. Now we're seeing 4.5s and 5s across the board again. Big injury information throughout the week. David Bakhtiari might be the single best offensive left tackle in football. Got a $100 million extension this year. He's going to miss the game with a torn ACL, be out the rest of the playoffs. That is big news because if you can get a team like the Chicago Bears with some formidable pass rushers, we know if you bully the Green Bay Packers, you can beat them. But again, sometimes when I look at bullying teams, Green Bay is not really a team. What I'm trying to say is you're going into Chicago today, right? You usually have 60,000 Bears fans. It's cold weather. They want to win and get in. They'd be hyped. It's not going to be the case today. So now you're going to get to go on. That's an advantage that you're going to have for the Green Bay Packers. Also, how long have you seen all the way through here with teams trying to – and I doubt Green Bay every week. I can't say in Green Bay. I would love for them to get the bye week, come back in the first game of the playoffs and get absolutely dropped and be out of it. I just think it's fun because Aaron Rodgers' personality dictates to a lot of hate because he's so smug and hell, his family doesn't even like him. So why should we like him outside of Green Bay? But anyway – looking at this game, seeing the offensive progression that the Green Bay Packers have, and we talk about in the NFL, the Chicago Bears can show up on defense extremely well against inept offenses and lower-level components. They can dominate. But in the NFL, how many times do we talk about the Patrick Mahomes of the world, the Green Bays of the world with Aaron Rodgers, where they go up against a good defense? It's like, what does defense even matter? When the quarterback is on, it doesn't matter who's out there. And specifically, if you're down some guys in your secondary with the Chicago Bears they're not holding Green Bay Packers to 17 points in this game, which brings me to my point on the game itself. It's one game. I got Aaron Rodgers. I got Mitchell Trubisky. I got under a touchdown I need to win and cover in this game. I have everything on the line. Yeah, Chicago needs to win this to get in, probably, right? But look on the other side. Green Bay has talked for a month. Don't you dare let us have home field advantage in Green Bay at Lambeau. We will roll to the Super Bowl. One game to win, one game to stay home at Lambeau. They get it done. Packers by 10.
Yeah, I completely agree. And look, this is a huge game for Mitchell Trubisky. He wins this game, he's getting paid, and he's staying as the franchise quarterback for the Bears. He loses, there's a good chance he's not with that team next year. But look, Green Bay in a must win, and I've said it before. Green Bay is probably the number one seed. The bye and home field advantage is more important to them than probably any team in the league. I guess you could argue the Saints. They have a nice record there in the Dome, and Drew Brees is so bad outside that maybe you could argue the Saints, but this is such an important game. So you're giving me Aaron Rodgers versus Mitchell Trubisky. And another thing here, when you look at the secondary for Chicago, no Jalen Johnson, no Buster Screen. So now they're rolling out guys like Duke Shelley. Duke Shelley is going to be torched today. I promise you, you will see him in a touchdown highlight. You'll see the back of his jersey chasing someone into the end zone. Packers roll here. The Bears too beat up on defense, too much to play for. The loss of Bakhtiari, absolutely devastating for them, especially heading into the playoffs. But I like Green Bay today, and I think they get it done by over a touchdown. Give me one of my favorite plays of the day, honestly.
Yeah, and I think Mitchell Trubisky will play well, and we've talked about it quite. Like, I'm not a Mitchell Trubisky fan. He's beat up on a couple of bad teams, but that's the NFL. There's a lot of bad football teams, and you have to beat the teams you expect to beat, which they somewhat have. But also, this is a referendum game on him, and the worst part about it for the Bears, and specifically for their fans, is Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy drafted this guy. They are going to go to the Hill and sign him to a big deal to try to prove that they were right. If he wins this game, I think they were right. But if he loses this game, Mitchell Trubisky should be playing, some backup quarterback somewhere like down in New Orleans or something like that next year. But this is a big game. Over under opened up, 50.5? Now we're sitting at 48.5. Whether or not a concern, if you told me Chicago in January 3rd is going to have like 5-mile-an-hour winds and 35 degrees, that's like beach weather there for the Green Bay Packers and the Bears. So none of that's going to have an issue. No crazy fans out here. We'll see what happens in the game. But I do think you get a pretty good game. But I do think Green Bay is the better football team here. One game to win for them to clinch home field. They're going to get it done and end up with the victory here. How about this game next, Kyle? 111-112. You got a horrendous defense on Houston, but the quarterback is not Randy Watson of sexual chocolate. It's Deshaun Watson, and he always gives you a chance. Lit up that Tennessee defense last time out. He's going to light them up again, but there's no defense on Houston that's going to have anywhere. You're talking about 2 wide receivers, a tight end, an offensive line, a running back that says if I get 225 on the ground, I'm running for 2,000 yards on the season. Ryan Tannehill, that offense will be able to do whatever they want. As we see each and every week with Houston, Kyle, a Herculean effort is needed out of Deshaun Watson. He gives it to you a lot. The line is at 7.5. They have nothing to, actually 7 across the board. They have nothing to play for. So we look at that 54.5 and think it should go over. I still have to take Tennessee. They're win and in this spot here against nothing on defense. What's led to believe that this game can end up like 35 to, let's just say, 24 at this point? But Deshaun Watson will put up a fight in this one. I just don't think it's enough because his surrounding help on defense doesn't really lead to me to believe that they're going to be holding the Tennessee Titans to 27 points.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. And normally I'd say, hey, just take the Titans first half, but they're such a slow starting team, the Titans are. You see them, they get in these deficits. You're like, my God. I love the Randy Watson stuff. That's a great one.
Funny. I didn't even write that down. It came up. I said, let me use this to see if anybody dates themselves. So it looks like it actually went over well out there.
Yeah, it's a perfect day for me to be dating myself. That is fantastic. And that actually plays in more ways than one, believe it or not. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
But you're right. You got to take Tennessee. Now, I'm nervous about the 7 points because Houston can score on Tennessee. Now, Houston's going to be without Laramie Tunsil. So that offensive line's a little beat up. The problem is, Tennessee is the worst pass rush in the league. I mean, they just cannot put pressure on anybody. I actually like that it dropped a little bit to 54.5. Again, those are big numbers, and you need a lot of things to go right. I do think you see an honest effort out of Houston. Everyone's talking about the J.J. Watt speech. Well, it doesn't really matter because J.J. Watt stinks, and he's no good anymore. He's too big. He had a great career, was phenomenal. He's just not any good anymore. Tennessee embarrassed last week. They need to get back on track. They need to win this game to win the division. So I will take the Titans to cover here, but I'm a little bit nervous. And I don't think you're crazy for buying a half a point here or a point and getting this down to 6.5. For the main reason is we've seen the kicking woes of Stephen Gostkowski this year. So you could get this late touchdown. We're going up by 7 or, we're going to go up by 8 and then he misses the extra point. So getting this to 5.5 maybe might not be a terrible idea with how erratic Gostkowski's been this year, but you got to like the Titans here.
No, and I completely agree with you there. And by the way, guys, thank you. 530 people currently watching live here in the chat box, about 40 minutes into the show, 111 thumbs up. We've had a great year this year at sportsbookreview.com across all platforms, just growing the brand. And you guys are a big reason behind it. As we said, 78,200 subscribers have hit that subscribe button. If you haven't done so yet, please do that. We are riding a wave of momentum right in the college basketball, the NBA season, Major League Baseball. And before you know it again, Kyle, I'm going to be opening up the show. Welcome into week 1. But hey, we still got a long way to go till the Super Bowl. So let's have some fun here and continue to close out the show. We'll be around for the playoffs doing shows still on Tuesday and Thursday. We'll decide what we're going to do for the playoffs with live programming on the weekend. So stay tuned for that. How about this game, Kyle? 113, 114, 425 kickoff here. New Orleans and Carolina. Drew Brees. Interesting news comes out today. And I'm a hater. I'm a Drew Brees hater through and through for at least a good 15 years now. Your whole team is out at running back position, right, with COVID. That's what everybody's talking about. So you're going to leak out that this is going to be your last year in the NFL and you're going to go to the booth. So you want the onus back on you today. That's for here another day to just rip, because you know me, I can't stand the guy. He's a great football player, but no stats and spotlight means more to a single player throughout NFL history than Drew Brees. And I got to say, like, he had 11 broken ribs. If he could have hid that to try to combat Tom Brady's touchdowns and finish as the leader, he would do that. He would play till 65 if it meant the Saints would never win another game, so he could keep that touchdown record. Looking at this game, there's no running backs for anybody, basically, Kyle, on both sides of the football between Carolina and New Orleans. But you brought up something beginning of the show that I wanted to take a look at here is what's now the motivation for New Orleans? Like, if they win, they don't get the top seed. They need a couple things to fall in their favor. Is this one of those weeks where they say, dude, let's not get anybody hurt here. Let's see what happens. Let's play hard for a half and then weigh the differences at halftime? Because you don't have a lot of weapons now. No Alvin Kamara, no Latavius Murray, no Michael Thomas, and Drew Brees is that creaky old man in the backfield. Are we now starting to turn the tide here and say, whoa, 6 is too many points here? I might be lining up on Carolina as the dog because A, I know they're going to play hard, and B, what effort out of offense am I getting now from the New Orleans Saints?
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to be scoreboard watching because you mentioned it. They need Green Bay to lose and Seattle to win. So they need all this, weird stuff for them to get the 1 seed. I just don't see them taking it that seriously. Now the whole running back room's gone. So now it's Ty Montgomery at running back and Emmanuel Sanders and Marquez Callaway. Whew, man, it's real dicey for me. Do I think the Saints can pull it out? Sure. I'm just not sure you're going to get that full effort. You might see a lot of Jameis Winston in the second half because I don't think they'll roll Taysom Hill out there to get him hurt either. He's such an important part of their offense, what they do, even when he's not a quarterback. Carolina, on the other hand, they're going to throw the ball up and down the field. Now, they're another team without their top 2 running backs. So it's, Rod Smith, and I don't even remember if Reggie Bonifant is still on that team. I can't remember. That's what we're looking at here. But they can sling it. DJ Moore's had good success against Lattimore and Jenkins, Robbie Anderson. So I think you see Carolina come out there and Matt Rule put up an honest effort. So I would actually lean to Carolina covering this. I'd be real dicey betting this game. First half onlys for me. And still then I'm a little nervous because, again, they need so much to happen for them to get the 1 seed. And they're going to be looking up at that Green Bay game. As soon as that Green Bay game gets to 10-0 and they realize Mitchell Trubisky's got to come from behind against Aaron Rodgers, Sean Payton's going to be like, Drew, get the hell out of here. You still got 11 cracked ribs, a lung that barely works. I know you want the touchdown title. I know you want all these stats because you're absolutely right. He's the Russell Westbrook, if you will, of the NFL.
A good one. But he actually won, though, so.
Yeah, he's actually won. Like, he's not clearing people out to get 10 rebounds, but real tough on here. I would lean Carolina just because I know we should get a full, honest effort out of them. No clue what you're going to get out of New Orleans today.
No, you're right about that. I always like to joke too, like, Russell Westbrook clearing out the lane, make sure I get the rebounds. Can you see Drew Brees like late in his career talking to the opposing DBs like, hey, the game's over here. If I give you $25,000, we just get out of the way so I can throw one more touchdown pass today in this game to pad my stats. Drew Brees, come right here to sportsbookreview.com. It's where we hate on everybody, specifically Drew Brees. Let's get to the next game, 425, Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs have everything locked up, not much to play for. But I have to say, looking at this game, it's gone from 3.5 5s this morning to 5.5s to 6 to 6.5s across the board. Justin Herbert, keep in mind, there's some, value that we talk about, like when we had Mike Evans for Tampa Bay saying he needs like 125 yards. Josh Allen needs 40 yards. In this game, I believe it's 324 yards, I want to say, for Justin Herbert. If he gets that, he's the all-time rookie leader in pass yards in the NFL. They're going to want to try to get him. I'm reading also on Twitter here that Anthony Lynn will meet with ownership Monday and de facto be let go at that point. So he's not really coaching for, hey guys, win this one, I could be back. They already looks like they've made up their mind and he's not going to be back. So I don't really know how much players actually play for each other. And I even tweeted out like, hey, Justin Herbert, look, I know you like Anthony Lynn. He's a great guy. He's got millions in the bank. Get yourself a coach that can propel your NFL career. And maybe it starts in this game because Kansas City is going to be down just about everybody. But you have 2 quarterbacks here on the roster. When I look at the Philadelphia Eagles tonight, which we'll talk about in a second, if you don't want to play Jalen Hurts, you go to Nate Sudfeld. Like, dude, come on, man. Nate Sudfeld, he can't even run the offense. But when you look at Kansas City, it's Chad Henne, and then behind Chad Henne is Matt Moore. You're talking about guys with 60 total starts between those guys or more in the NFL. They're going to be able to run that Andy Reid offense with legitimate wide receivers, even though Tyreek Hill is going to be down, Sammy Watkins will be down, Travis Kelce is going to be down. That's not a great defense for the Chargers on the opposite side. Am I going to be remiss to think that Kansas City will operate a functioning offense? Do I think they win the game? Probably not, because they're going to bench a lot of their defense as well. But I don't think Kansas City is in a rollover spot here with veterans at quarterback that want to get some spin before the playoffs start.
And a good scheme. Andy Reid loves these sort of things. He wants to prove that he can score points with anybody at quarterback. It's something that he lives for. I think the team total for the Chiefs is low. I think the total for this game is low. I took the over 43, and I feel really good about it. You're going to have the Chiefs backup defense outside of maybe Chris Jones plays a little bit. Picking a side here, way too tough for me. When it was a little bit lower, you'd lean the Chargers because at least you'd get some starters playing. Kansas City's not going to have any starters. But I think both offenses score. Both these defenses are going to be bad today. The Chiefs already aren't a very good defense. Now you take away, some of those starters on the outside to kind of match up with, Keenan Allen and Hunter Henry being out for the Chargers. So even though there's a lot of missing weapons and typically that would, lean me to the under, I think it's too low here. I don't think either defense is very good. You mentioned Justin Herbert. I think both teams throw the ball. They score points. I like the over 43 as the bet in this game.
Yeah, and I don't think we're not looking at just getting some updated weather conditions. 36 degrees, 5 miles an hour in Kansas City today. So as good as you're going to get for this time of year, because 35 degrees, it's cold. Not cold for football players, but 35 degrees and 20-mile-an-hour winds really hamper it. That shouldn't be a damage set. I think both of these teams throw the football and have fun. Keep in mind also, it's a 425 game. We don't know who's technically going to be in or out for the Chiefs. Andy Reid being back in Philadelphia, getting all those number 1 seeds. He rests just about everybody. But usually when you rest everybody, you're left with a lot of damaged goods. They can still roll out, Kyle. 3 decent wide receivers, an average offensive line, some good weapons at running back. And again, as I said, you're not going with the starter who's never played before and just want to say, hey, congratulations on being the number 3 quarterback. Let's get you some play in the last game, like it's the 4th preseason game. There are a couple veterans back there that when they get in the game, they know what they're looking at on defense. They've been there, done that before. Not to say they're going to win it again, but I don't think it's going to be an incompetent effort by the Kansas City Chiefs in this game. 127, 128 line that's gotten away as well. Started off early in the week, 4.5s up to 5, 6 is now 7s. Seattle, again, playing that same mode with New Orleans and with Green Bay. We can get it here. We're the better team. But the question is, what are we actually getting out of San Francisco today? Kyle Shanahan's getting less with more is an amazing credit to how good of an offensive play caller and head coach he actually is for San Francisco. They won last week. I understand that, but they're going to get a full go defense on Seattle, who's pretty good and playing at a very good level over the last month, as opposed to what they were playing for over the first 1 to 2 months of the season. They should be able to put away San Francisco, because now you're looking at, don't be surprised even on the inactives if George Kittle is inactive. I know he played well last week, but I think it's one of the things like, hey, George, we know you're good. You got your taste out here. Do we really want to put you out? So another one of those 425 games that you might want to look around, 3 o'clock and say, who's actually in if you're looking to back the dog here in San Francisco?
Yeah, it's a little tough here to take the 49ers. Now, again, I was on this last week, and my Niners went ahead and embarrassed us all and beat the Cardinals. And I usually don't like taking Russell Wilson by a touchdown or more. It's always a little bit high, especially in this game. For me, this is a complete stay away game. When I see the 7 points, and again, if Seattle realizes, hey, the only reason they're even trying to play today is to win that 1 seed, that's it. DK Metcalf a little banged up. They'd like to keep him healthy, not overuse him. So again, they look up. Green Bay's putting away Chicago, New Orleans. Maybe they're up on Carolina. You may not see a full complement of Seattle here. So this is where I think you take that first half for Seattle. And you mentioned it. It's a good point. You're nervous because the 49ers are great at scripting those first couple of drives. Yeah. Kyle Shanahan does an amazing job. So they come down, they run the ball well. Jeff Wilson's running all over the place. It's a little bit dicey for me here. I think I'd buy a few points if I'm taking Seattle. If it's sitting at 7, I might take my 49ers because I know they're going to play hard for 4 quarters. But again, a stay away spot for me.
Yeah, tough one. If you're looking at the over-under 45.5, I don't think both of these teams are really going out to, toss it around 50 times. I think Seattle just wants to secure the win and get out of town. And again, with San Francisco, you're now down Ayuk and also you're left. So there's a lot to be determined in this football game where just moving the football might be a lot harder than what it was just a few weeks ago here with San Francisco. And again, watch out around 3 o'clock for the inactives, because if George Kittle plays, he's, the top 2 at his position, it can certainly be a game changer where you would expect 5 catches, 75 yards at a minimum, which means they should be able to move the ball. But if he's downgraded to out because they don't want to risk it for the offseason, which would be an extremely smart move here, Kyle. Again, this coming from, I don't have any bets on the game, but keep in mind, again, it's 4:25. You still have some time to act on that and see what comes out. Vegas and Denver. Drew Lock getting 2.5 points over under 50.5. Balmy 50 degrees in Denver. And I look at this game and I see Denver's team total 23.5. And I'm like, you know what? Push that button. And when I try to go down, like the forces just keep my arm up, because I honestly think Drew Luck is going to have a really nice day today. I'm talking like 275 plus, 2 touchdowns, maybe Jerry, Judy, Patrick each get one of those. I think Melvin Gordon has a pretty good game on the ground. But it's just so disheartening where you continue to see them drive in like the red zone and just bonehead plays end up coming up. But again, you're not facing a very good defense here by any stretch with the Raiders. I just can't pull the trigger. But if I'm looking at a game with a total of 50.5 points, are we punting in this game? There's 2 things you're looking for specifically from the Denver side. Is Vic Fangio your head coach moving forward? Or B, is Drew Luck our guy? Do you think they're going to go out there with Drew Luck and go, you know what, let's control the game on the ground, Drew? How about 15 passes and we win a low-scoring game? No, you're literally going out there going, this might be your last shot, Drew, to prove that you're our quarterback. I think they open it up on offense and that total comes in at 50.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. Are we punting in this game? Well, they might, because Vic Fangio is a loser coach who just doesn't seem to get it. I'm not getting over that. I cannot stand Vic Fangio. Such a one of those is boring, dull. You mentioned Joe Judge. It's like, good Lord. And you're right, Drew Lock. Jesus Christ, Drew Lock. How many times do we have to say it? So it does make you nervous. I can't pick a side here because I don't trust either of these teams. So, like, if you're desperate to pick a side, you're a Raider or Denver fan, I guess I would just take the points with Denver. I don't trust either of them, but I do think there's a lot of points. 2 banged up secondaries, bad defenses. Both teams should score points here. Let her rip. Ruggs versus Judy. I like that on the outside. Love Jerry Judy as a DFS play this week as well at 4,200. I guess I'll take the points with Denver. Don't trust it much. Give me the over.
All right, be cautious, be wary, and good luck on this one. 131, 132. Who's playing is our best guess. It doesn't look like, Malcolm Brown's probably going to be the starting tailback for the Rams today. And Jared Goff's not going to play, so we're all banking on John Wolford, who apparently the Rams are saying this guy should have been taken number 1 overall in the draft, and we all just missed it for some reason. I don't like that. I'm reading like this guy can spin it. He's a gamer. He's a guy. He's going to lead us to victory, but you had him on your roster. You gave Jared Goff $100 million. And I don't know where to go on this one, because when you watch the highlights, he moves around like Doug Flutie. Fantastic, right? That's great. No Cooper Kupp in this game. So you have the semblance of an offense that's downgraded already. And if you were Sean McVay, were dialing up the offense and increasing the playbook to a guy that's never taken a snap in the NFL. Now, look, I want to believe in Wolford. And even looking at this game, you have a markedly better defense on the Rams. I do think the Rams can win this game. And so do the odds experts. Opened up at 3 as a favorite for Arizona with Kyler Murray, who's going to play today. And now I'm seeing at a -1. But I always get nervous when I see hey, this kid can really spin it. Because as Kyle knows, and most of you in the chat box know, you don't see it right now behind this SBR wall behind me. But there is a jersey of a guy that was told to me yo, you ought to see DiNucci. This kid spins it. And then I saw one play and said, this is the worst quarterback I've ever seen in my entire life. But I want to believe in John Wolford. But am I going to put my money in a win or go home type scenario here for the Rams on a guy I've never seen before? And I'm only going on Aaron Donald saying, hey, man, when he runs the practice team, he's the best quarterback I've ever seen. Where do we go here? Honestly.
I honest to God do not know what to do with this game. So, Kyler Murray looks like he's good to go. We'll see how limited he is. There's so many unknowns in this game. The good thing for John Wolford and the Rams is this Cardinals defense is absolutely terrible. Yeah. I mean, it is a terrible, terrible defense. So the Rams defense is really, really good. They could hold Kyler Murray. Now, another thing to keep an eye on, the Rams, both these teams, if Arizona wins, can still make the playoffs. If Chicago loses, which they're probably going to do to Chicago, or to Green Bay, so that's going to take some of that pressure off the Rams. I'm not buying anything about a guy who could barely make it to the AAF. Now I'm supposed to believe he's the second coming of Doug Flutie. When, it's never good to. Doug Flutie was a decent quarterback. He was a lot of fun, but they're like, hey, you want to be compared to, the Montanas, the Bradys. Not, oh, hey, we're comparing this guy to Doug Flutie. Fantastic. I'm super excited to hear that. I'd have to lean the better quarterback in Kyler Murray, but this is
like they're comparing to Doug Flutie. Like Doug Flutie won the Heisman Trophy in college. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, on the Hail Mary and all that, and then he was basically nothing in the pros. Had a nice little run, I guess, with Buffalo and a little bit with the Chargers. He was okay, but and I know he played for Chicago early on. Didn't do much there. This is a really tough. It's a stay away game. Absolutely a stay away game.
Like I don't want to cut you off, but like even looking at Arizona, like Larry Fitzgerald's on one leg, he might not even play. You already saw Christian Kirk, with COVID, he's out. DeAndre Hopkins could barely practice. He's going to get lined up against Jalen Ramsey. Like where are the points coming from in this game when you look at both sides? Because I'm pretty sure the MO of the Rams isn't let's let this young kid throw 40 times. And he could prove us wrong. Remember Kurt Warner? Well, if everybody remembers, Kurt Warner and why not Tom Brady, 6th-round pick. Nobody in the NFL should draft a quarterback till the 6th round because Tom Brady was in the 6th round. But you can't go without. I actually think this kid is going to be a gamer. He's going to make some plays with his legs, and he's getting in a tremendous bonus because Arizona doesn't have much to offer on defense. But also, if you have a slightly banged-up Kyler Murray with no weapons around them against the Rams on turf, that doesn't bode well. So he can hang around and play in this game. All I think we're saying is, if you're going to line up and take the Rams with Wofford, don't be like, oh, my God, this kid is really bad. Like, we don't know. Like, we think he's really bad. He didn't get drafted. Why? Because he's probably really bad.
Yeah, I think 13-10 will not surprise me in this game. Grinding out a 13-10 game. I have absolutely no idea what to expect in this game. Like, the best, I saw someone say, help, Rams or Cardinals. The help is stay the hell away from this game. Don't even touch it. Sit back and enjoy the show, see what John Wolford has to offer, but don't bet this game. I guess I would lean the Cardinal. I don't know. Maybe the Rams. Like the defense. I can't decide, but I do like the under. I don't think it gets 41.
All right, 2 minutes we could spend on this game tonight. Washington to Philadelphia. The key thing you have to look at is Washington opened up a +1.5. They're now sit at -6.5, and rightfully so. Carson Wentz is going to be inactive tonight and play. Now, if you're banking on Jalen Hurts, keep in mind, people, you're banking on Jalen Hurts to play and play well, which he can. There's no reason to even have Jalen Hurts in this football game. So Nate Sudfeld now is the number 2 quarterback. Are you running Jalen Hurts out here in the last game with nothing around him, with 6-string tackles on both sides? No, you let Nate Sudfeld, who's going to be a free agent next year, who hasn't done anything in the NFL, get his brains beat in. Do I think Hurts will play for a while? Probably, but nobody's playing on the defense. Nobody's playing on either side. So that's why I opened up the show and said, for Washington, take Alex Smith out, take Gibson out, take McLaurin out. You'll still win this game by a touchdown. As long as this line is under 7, the Washington Redskins will have double-digit sacks tonight against that Philadelphia Eagles offense. And let's just take a look at this game. 20-10 probably sounds about right in this game because I can't stand Washington on offense as is. One team needs to win. One team has a defensive coordinator that said, you know what, guys? I have 1 year left. I'm good. I'm done after this game. Nicole Roby-Coleman actually goes to COVID list today, which leaves one player, Darius Slay, and a bunch of street jockeys straight from UPS. No linebackers, no D-line, no secondary in a game you don't want to win. Big time win, double digits for Washington tonight.
Isn't that crazy to say those words? And Alex Smith's going to play. Terry McLaurin's going to play. Antonio Gibson's going to play. The defense for Washington is very, very good. It's an underrated unit in the NFL. And someone's never mind. And I'm going to go ahead and go with Washington here to get it done. It makes me sick to take them by a touchdown or more, but you're right. No one's there for Philly. You got to take Washington.
Yep, that's my play for the show, by the way. Everybody's, hey, where's the plays? Where do you get him in at? I know you guys have to wait till the end. It was a tough week to go over because, again, most of the games that we bet or liked or put in on our Pick 6 contests, those lines are long gone across the board. Yeah. But even though this line stinks and you're getting 7 points of the worst end of it, Washington needs to win this game. The Eagles might just take a knee for 4 quarters. Give me Washington by at least 7 points. That's a win and a cover. How about you, Kyle?
Yep, I got the Vikings -3 now that it's down to 3. Love the Vikings -3, and I'll stay right there in the NFC North, and I'll say Green Bay by 4.5. I think they get it done against Chicago as well.
Amen. A lot of those guys for the Eagles, as somebody famous said, don't be mad. UPS is hiring. So a lot of those Eagles guys can be on the UPS line as of January the 4th. Thank you guys for tuning in, getting you right off the kickoff here, 1 p.m. A lot of stuff going on today. Action-packed. Good luck with all your plays, DFS. Any questions? Me and Kyle are always available on Twitter as well. But thank you for supporting the channel. 550 people watching at a max here during the show. Fantastic stuff. We'll be back on Tuesday to wrap it all up and start digging in to Wild Card Weekend in the NFL. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance. We are sportsbookreview.com, and this was your NFL show.